Hi guys, this is Forgetful Scholar, and let's chat about one book. So this is another installment of books I hate from authors I love, and again, Johanna Lindsey is on the list. So this is Keeper of the Heart from Johanna Lindsey, and there's only I don't have it's not in here. So I don't know if it was taken out or just never was, but there's I guess the looks like the romance cover part. There we go. So this is so this is kind of a continuation of the story of the warrior's woman. And this is their daughter. So this is Challen and Tendra's daughter, Shani. I'm just gonna call her Shani. I think it's like anyway. Uh they have two kids, but this is the daughter story. So the thing about this one is I wouldn't have hated it. Like I wouldn't put it as like a 1 star. I wouldn't hate it if it wasn't for the annoying secondary character. That's what's dropping this all the way into this. See, in the first book, the mom has a computer called Martha, and it's the Mach 2, and it's an AI, own personality, has its own thoughts computer. And she was sarcastic and witty and, very, she didn't sugarcoat anything. And that worked great for Tendra's fiery, fierce, kind of stubborn personality, but Shandy is a very different personality. And the thing is, in this book, we don't get to see Shandy's personality. Not really. So I like Shandy in the first, like, say it's 3 parts in the book. I like Shandy in the first part, and I like Shandy in the third part. And the middle of the book, which is the most of it, I can't stand her. I can't stand this book. And why? Because Martha. So, let's talk about that, shall we? Okay. So like this right now. All right, so Shani is just coming back from, I guess, this author's version of Starfleet, and she learned how to be a pilot, which is really never comes in handy at all or comes up at all in the rest of the book. So, all right. And Shandy basically becomes a pirate because she wants to go forward because she doesn't want to marry a warrior. And I was like, cool, whole career choice because you want to find someone off planet to bond with. I'm like, all right, but she's 20, and I'm like, okay, who isn't an idiot at 20? So get past that. So they're on the ship, and she is learning like practicing hand-to-hand combat with their other AI, but he's like a physical robot where Martha doesn't really have a physical body. He's more of like an android robot, and his program he used to be a programmed sex robot, but is now programmed like bodyguard for Shani. And she gets flipped over, and there's a friend from school. She invites a couple of friends from school to come home with her to visit, and they're all excited because visitors have been barred from her home planet for a long time, and we'll get into that reason. It's a pretty good reason, but yeah. So this guy has been asking Shandy like to hook up and to date him and all this stuff, and she's been telling him a while no. So this scene, he's kind of trying again, and the thing is, Martha butts in and completely shuts down whatever Shandy's about to say, or this would have been a great time to show Shandy has like a lot of patience, but she is willing and can very much stand up for herself. But instead, Martha chimes in and is like, oh, I'm gonna teleport you up, blah, blah, blah. Kind of chimes in and like takes the scene away from Shandy. And I was like, okay, all right, that's a little weird. And then Shandy's like, oh, that wasn't very nice, Martha, to kind of show that even though Jad bothered her, she still doesn't like the fact that Martha kind of humiliated him. So we see that Shandy is a sweetheart. There's a little bit of, she has a lot of compassion for people. So we do see that in that scene, but still it just felt like so like stunted the flow of finding out who Shandy is. Especially in the beginning of the book, it's her POV. We need to know who she is. We need to care about her. And like the parents' book was like 5 stars for me, so I really want to get to know their kids, So this was pretty disappointing. And this is a revisit. I will say that. But I don't remember. Like I read this like really long time ago, long time ago, and I didn't really remember anything about it. So I was like, oh, let me try it again. I just had a vague memory of not particularly liking it. Same with the Parents book. I had this vague memory of not particularly liking it, and then I read it again, and I absolutely loved it. So I was like, let me give this a shot, right? So that's one example of Martha kind of taking Shandy's spotlight, I guess. Okay, so they get to the planet, and there is competition going on, and everyone's there. There are visitors from off-world even, which is a big deal, and they're all competing. And then there's visitors competing section, and then people on that planet competing section, because this is like a land of like giant barbarians, and they didn't think it would be fair for, you know, visitors to fight against them, so they'll have their own champion. Now, unbeknownst to Shandy, the dad, Callan, is doing this because of the 5 top competitors. He wants Shandy to pick someone to bond with. Now, on the surface, you might be like, what the? But you have to remember, in their culture, a man could see a woman who's not wearing any protective, like a protective cloak that says that she is under someone's protection. He could be like, I claim you, you're mine now, and that's it. You know, and Shandy's gorgeous, and his warriors have been asking for years to bond with her, and he's been turning them down. Because the barbarian that culture says women are just belong to men wants his daughter protected, but also wants her to actually like the person. You go, Callan. For, I know this is like a historical sci-fi, it's FM, historical sci-fi, for like kind of historical sci-fi where her culture is kind of like what we would consider barbaric and stuff like that. The fact that he's like, I want her to like the man that she bonds with. That is like A++ of parenting right there, Callan. Good for you, considering, you know, this world and everything. The mother finds out she's pissed, and he's like, look, I will not give my daughter someone who cannot protect her, because that's huge in their culture. They need to protect. And she's like, you're just going to give him to the winner. And he's like, no, she gets to pick from the top 5. I'm not even too happy about that, because the 5th one, that means 4 men bested them. You know, so he's trying to find a loophole in their culture to kind of do this, you know? I mean, it's just, okay. So, at the beginning, the mother is Tendra and Shandy's relationship is actually pretty great. We get a great scene of them talking, and because she meets Fallon, which is the hero, and they have an encounter that terrifies Shandy because she has a phobia of pain. I will get to her phobia and what happens and what drives her and why it drives me nuts in a second. But she's a phobia of pain, and Fallon unwittingly hurts her. So she's like, she is scared and leaves. Again, she isn't able to leave herself. Martha kind of steps in, and in that scene, all right, Shandy felt powerless to get away, even though Fallon's not the bad guy, but her fear made him feel that. So that scene, I didn't mind Martha. And I will say, in the first book, I thought Martha was a hoot, but this one, I think someone told her how funny Martha was, so she went a little too much Martha. Sorry. Geek flashback. Anyway. Went a little too hard on the quirky, funny sidekick, because it just got super obnoxious. So after that, Tendra and Shandy have a heart-to-heart, and Tendra's like, oh, I'll kill him. And remember, Tendra is a warrior herself. On her planet, in like 9 different sectors, I think it is, her hands are considered lethal weapons. Like, she is like John Wick. She just, in a world of huge-ass orcs, she's not really, you know, she can't really take them on, but she is fierce, and I love that about her. And in that scene, Shandy's like, no, I don't want her hurt. So already you kind of see that she likes him. And Tendra, the mom, knows her daughter and realizes that. And again, Tendra, without Martha, I think, would have been great in this book. But the two of them just, like, upscaled the crazy in what was happening. And the thing is, that drove me most nuts. Sorry about that. The rant, I need a little water for the rant, was that Martha and the mother did this whole contrived, complicated idea to basically help Shandy run away, and Shandy thinks she's actually running away, but they're like, oh no, Martha will fly the ship, even though Shandy is a pilot, but that's fine, whatever. Like, honestly. Um, oof. And basically convince Shandy to do what they want. Pretty much. So what drove me insane was that the mother, who's from this very like women are equal kind of society, and Martha, who is basically built for Tendra, made up this whole contrived, overcomplicated plan to gaslight basically their daughter, and it just seemed to take away all the agency. So like the barbarian parent is trying really hard to like find a compromise of like her safety that he needs for her in their culture and her having a choice, whereas the mother and the fucking robot is taking away all her choices, and any of her choices seem like not even hers because they're just interfering so goddamn much. And I was like, whoa, this is too much. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'll know, and it's not even that like the parents were in so much of the book that it was confusing who the story was really about. It wasn't even like that. It was just that Tendra and Martha were like, well, you know, Fallon's gonna win because like, he's a king of his own country in this world. Like her father's the king of his. They call it something else, but it's an alien word, and please don't try to make me say it, please. Anyway, please. Anyway, so basically, when he wins, Shandy is gonna be beamed up the ship and leaves. And the thing is, she thinks it's forever. While the mom and Martha are like, no, Martha will work on her and make her realize, you know, that she wants Fallon. Not get to the root of her phobia, but make sure she... And thing is, Shandy is depicted as a real sweetheart for most of it, but then her phobia drives her to do stuff that seems so selfish and so out of character to me. And yes, phobias do that. So that was fine. But like the phobia itself, I was like the cause of it. So, little rewind. The cause of it, in their culture, there are raids that happen quite a bit. It's commonplace, and Shandy was taken when she was little. And the thing was, that alone could be really scary for a child, but since it's such a part of her culture, it was hard to believe that terrified her. But it could have. But the author went further and described, like, the man that she was writing with, like, the sadistic that liked to hurt people for fun. And you know what he did to Shandy? Pinched her. He pinched her. He pinched her so hard that she was screaming and crying and passed out. And I'm like, all right. See, that trauma, because I don't want to diminish even fake characters' traumas, it could have been fine, but this author has gone farther in trauma of the main characters. So that was a little weird that she pulled back so hard on that. It almost felt like something else was written, and the publisher was like, no, take that back. You know what I mean? Like, it felt kind of... Especially since even in this book, the reason visitors aren't allowed because this horrible thing happened to Fallon's older sister. She was 15 and she was kidnapped, brought up to a ship where they couldn't get to her, held captive for 2 months where she was abused physically and sexually, and then dropped off at the planet. So you went far for that character, but not the main character that we're supposed to empathize. Like, oh, she's just so scared, and this is why. And if Fallon's sister's trauma wasn't in the book, I think Shandy's non-trauma trauma would have been like, okay, you know, she was really scared, totally get it. But compared to that in the literary fiction world, it just diminished it so much. And I don't mean real people's trauma, please don't. I mean fictional character. It like diminished it so much, and I was like, if you didn't want Shandy to get hurt, totally understandable. But you could have written that, like, she witnessed him hurting somebody, or she heard the screams of him hurting somebody, and she was so little and so scared. Because to me, that would have been, like, I totally get why you're, like, flying to a different planet, which is at war with another planet, and willing to put them at war with your planet to run away, because that's what she does, even though she's highly intelligent, knows about visitors, like, other planets, and, you know, stuff like that. And even though she's the daughter of a king of one country and betrothed to the king of the other, who all like seems like all the sectors want to do anything to keep, because her family has control of the Gala stones, which are like clean energy, and her Fallon, his family has so much gold they don't even know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So she knows other species will do anything they want to get those trading deals. So she ends up in this one country where the women kind of brainwash their men. And there's a great scene with the general where she talks about like how much she misses her husband because he's there, but she changed him so much and she misses him, she regrets it, and she's too afraid to reverse it. You know, that was a great scene. That was a really really good scene. So she's on this planet trying to hide out, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want them to find me," and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll kill them or hurt them." They're like, "No, you can't hurt them or kill them or anything." So again, she shows how much she cares about Fallon. She's just scared. Fair enough. The sisters, like the said head scientist, is pretty sadistic. And when all the confusion happens, when the men land and everything like that, she throws her into the cell that's used to punish the slaves. And because the men are completely brainwashed by these machines that they have, they just think she's a slave and they go about it and about to strip her down, about to whip her. And the thing is, this phobia of pain, if it was consistent, okay, she's afraid of Fallon to run away to another galaxy and like think she's never gonna go home again. Yet when they try to whip her, she's just pissed. And I was like, okay, you have to. This isn't Tendra. This is Shandy. Like this is. If this phobia is so great, you have to make it consistent. You know. And they try to brainwash the guys, but Fallon distrusts everything visitors, so he never got the implant to learn their language or something like that. So he has no idea what they're saying, so it doesn't work on him. So they have Brock, which is Challen's AI, kind of the counterpart to Martha. He finds Shandy, knows that she's in distress, and brings Fallon there. So Fallon kind of, he saves her and everything like that. And then when she leaves the room, she knows it's Fallon, she leaves the room, she punches the scientist out, which is, good for her. She has the mind controlled thing, and she looks at him, she's like, will you let me change things I don't like about you? And I was like, whoa, Shandy, that kind of crossed a little bit of a line for me. I was like, no. You just had this great scene of how much the general regretted changing her husband, and then you're like, let me change you. I was like, did you just forget what happened 6 minutes ago? Or, Johanna Lindsey, did you forget what you wrote, like, 6 pages ago? Because what the was that? You know what I mean? And then, they have sex, and then she's like, oh, Fallon's great, I love him, I don't know why I'm so scared of him. And I was like, like, I knew that was going to be, the conclusion, because it's, it's a romance novel, happy endings, of course, but, like, seriously? Ugh. And then they go to his continent, and Martha is out of the way. And then I like the book again. Shandy shows herself to be compassionate and kind. She shows herself to be, a tough, also a tough cookie who stands up for other people. That part is great. The first part is great. That part is great. The middle, the meat of it is fucking crap. And I was like, wow. And if you take Martha out of it, it would be a 3-star. But with Martha in it, it's a 1-star. Because it was too much. Martha and the mother, who believes in equal rights for everyone, took away Shandy's agency. The barbarians, her twin brother and her father, were trying to give her choices. So, like, such a weird dichotomy. And I was like, make it make sense. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the book, the mom comes in, like, teleports in, and she's like, because Shandy got punished or whatever. And the mom comes in, and she's like, oh my god, also interfering. And then the father, teleports in to stop her from interfering. And I was like, okay, if you wanted the parents there, wouldn't it have been great if Fallon invited them there to show, like, yes, he didn't want the mother around because stuff that happened in the middle of the book. But, like, Shandy misses them so much and he cares about his bond that he would do that for her. That would have been such a great thing for Fallon's character because he's kind of standard barbarian, I love you, I will protect you from everything kind of guy, but you don't really get a lot of meat on him. You don't get a lot of, you just don't get a lot of meat on him, which is unfortunate. You do get that, his sister, after her ordeal, she was pregnant with her kidnapper's child, and she treated him like beat him, treated him like shit, to the point where, her new husband stopped her from hurting him, but Fallon and his brother kind of ignored his existence. And I was like, isn't Fallon supposed to be a good guy? Like, it would be so great if there was a scene of him, like, teaching his nephew sword fighting, because Shandy does. Because, like, apparently her father and brother taught her how to sword fight. So it would be great if, like, he joined them, you know what I mean? And he invited the parents instead of them just popping up, with Martha being a sarcastic, like, aren't I funny? Like, Martha had so much energy of, like, pick me energy, and I was like, shut the fuck up. Go away. And the thing is, I've read bad books before, um, but that aren't in this show or in this list or whatever, because the author seemed to have so much fun writing it. There was a certain, like, light, fun tone that they had, sort of like when you're on the phone and you can almost hear the smile in someone's voice, kind of like that. Like, they enjoyed it. This didn't have that. It kind of felt like, well, A plus B plus C equals D, and then, you know, square, you know, it just felt kind of like, it felt like almost she was forced to write it, like she didn't want to write it, and it kind of came off that way. So there it is. That's this one. I'm sorry you made the books I hate from authors I love list, but here we are. I still love your parents' story, and I'm gonna read your brother's story. I hope that's interesting. Anyway, it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you later.